Hello, welcome to Graphics, Gears, and Wires. This is Henry, and I am about to get started on this week's Priority 1 post graphic for Priority 1 Podcast. So that'll be episode 450 for us at Priority 1 Podcast, so that's exciting. So I'm going to set this up in CorelDraw the same way I did last week. We're going to make a composite similar to what we did here. This is last week's graphic, episode 449. So we're going to be looking to take Captain Rios here and cut him out, and then we're going to want to put him with Picard and 7 of 9, and maybe get him in here as well. I'm not sure, but I know in the background I want to take this Gorn from Star Trek Online and put him just kind of in the background with an eye patch as a gag because Picard was wearing an eye patch. And it's possible I'm going to put eye patches on all these guys, but that gag's been done by a couple of other shows, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I may just put the eye patch on the Gorn and stick him in the back there, or in the background there. So let's see. And I'm going to have to come up with a background for this also. I may just put some stars or something, or I may try to find like a background image from someplace online, like maybe an old picture from one of the bar scenes in Star Trek 3, because I think a lot of the atmosphere in the current Picard shows reminds me of the time and the settings and the kind of mood that you got in the Wrath of Khan era of the original series. So I might just throw that background in there too. So let's start cutting objects out. So in order to do that in CorelDraw, the easiest thing to do for me is just to grab this freehand tool. And I'm using a mouse here, but you can use a tablet if you like. And I'm just going to... Actually, I'm going to start with this tool and just grab some of these, or grab this shape out of here. I'm going to cut him out. And what I do is I draw the shape of the object I want to cut out, and then I'm going to power clip the image into that shape. And that's going to give me... I'm just going to kind of go around quickly. That's going to give me a nice cutout with a nice edge, and it's not the same kind of like blended edge you get with Photoshop with masking. It's more of a stark kind of comic book outline type of edge that I like for the Priority 1 graphics. Let's see here. So I use this technique a lot there, or here I should say. This kind of technique is also good for if you're going to do something like cut out a vinyl, if you're working in CorelDraw because you're doing vinyl or signage or something, and you're going to digital print part of the artwork and then have the vinyl cut it out after you've got that digital print. And here I'm going to switch to the freehand tool because this is a really rough edge, and I think I'll just pull my hair out trying to match the contour really, really closely with the Bezier tool. So I'm just going to kind of keep going around. I just want to kind of get the feel of it. There's a little bit of error correction smoothing going on in the tool, which I may undo. I may turn off. Depends on how nicely this comes out. But typically I keep that on when I'm using the freehand tool because I like to work and think about what happens if I need to cut this out of vinyl, something like that, or do some signage. So I like to make my objects something that I can just work with instantly, not have to worry about like redoing things. So I keep the edge smooth, and just because out of habit. And actually I don't need to follow this contour up like that. I thought that was part of a collar. I thought I was way up here, which I am not. So I'm going to go back to the freehand tool. Just kind of follow this around some more. Get some of this shaggy look here. Not too much. Alright, now we're back to Bezier tool. Here we are. Oops. So I'm starting to really enjoy Picard. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of crossover between the audience of people who want to watch my video for instruction in CorelDraw or Illustrator or whatever I'm working in, and Star Trek fans, but I'd be willing to bet that more than a few people who are doing graphics and computer programming and robotics and the other things that I'm talking about on this channel are Star Trek fans. So let me know if I'm off base there, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a bit of crossover. Now this hair, I want to kind of retain this kind of shagginess look, right? This wispy look, but I don't want to spend forever grabbing objects. So I'm going to do what I think is going to be enough. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And if I need to come back and cut out some objects, I can do that. I'm just kind of quickly creating the shapes. And using this tool rather than the freehand tool, I have good control over all the curves. I can just follow them around, and it makes nice smooth shapes for me that don't need to be cleaned up. And by switching between, look at that feather, but switching between the Bezier and freehand tool, I can create different kind of textures. And when using this curve tool I've got here, the Bezier tool, when I click and drag, it'll make a curve, but then if I hit C, it's going to give me a nice hard angle. So I can then follow another direction with my curve. Just kind of draw the object, follow it around. And some people will not like to work with these vectors. They'll just grab the brush, and that's fine. You can use the brush tool and mask this off in Photoshop. It's a matter of preference. Like I said, this will give us a bit of a different look, which is what I'm going for here. And we'll just follow that around. And I'm just a little bit off, so I'm going to hold the Alt key, and that'll let me pick up this node and replace it. And then I can hit the C key, and I'm right back to drawing, and I can just keep following this object around. And I've got good control over the nodes. Just hit that C key and change direction. Hit the Alt key and reposition things. You get used to just moving your hands on the keyboard, and you don't worry too much. Like right now, I'm holding Alt and pressing the direction keys to pan around the workspace. Some people will hit the H key and use the pan tool to pan around the workspace, and that's fine, except to return to your drawing tool, unless you've got a shortcut key mapped to it, which I don't have for this one. I typically end up hit the space bar, then I'm back on the pick tool, and I've got to go over and grab my tool again or hit another hotkey. I prefer just to leave my mouse exactly where it is, take my hand off of it for a second, and just pan around holding the Alt key and tapping directions. And I may switch to a freehand tool. No, there's really no point. Just going to hit C, move this down here. There we are. Captain Rios, fully isolated. So, next step, I will take the picture and select it. I'm going to copy, oops, I have that in a group, so I'm going to ungroup. Actually, I'm going to dig. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to right click on the picture and drag over the object I just drew. And I would like to power clip inside. You see things are moved, so I'm going to hold Control and click the object, and that'll let me inside the power clip. I'm going to select my image and delete it, and then just paste my original. Now it's in the right place. I'm going to hold Control and just click outside of the object, and that'll let me get out of the power clip. And now we have our figure isolated, and we can put him into the scene with the other figures. So he should be sitting here in front of Picard, or maybe between them. Maybe. Or maybe just kind of down here. He might be a little too small for that. And here we go. There we go. So he needs to look like he pretty much belongs in this scene, which I think we're pulling off here. I think they're about the right scale. Maybe he's a little big, but then again, he is in front of them. He's also not quite looking exactly where they are, which is fine because we're going to put an eye patch on him. And I think I am going to put one on 7 of 9 just to fix his gaze, because it's odd that he's not looking in the right direction there. And then I think we're going to get the Gorn. Just kind of, let's look at the Gorn. Let's see if the Gorn's a possibility here. What's the best Gorn we have? Let's see. I've Gorn and done it now, and that is a terrible pun. Alright, let's see. I think the best one I have is probably just the biggest one because he'll have the most detail. And they're all pretty much at the same angle. So I'm going to just grab that Gorn. And I only copy pasted it there. I actually cut and pasted it to isolate it from the group. And I wonder what it'll look like if I can get him in the background behind them. So I'm just going to quickly kind of erase just to isolate him kind of roughly, because I want to make sure this composition is going to work before I invest the time in cutting out this Gorn. So let's see. Now I would need to put him back here, maybe over here behind 7, and maybe a little lower there. Maybe not. Corner tall. So we'll put him here. And then I'm going to need to kind of wash out the color to match it to the rest of this. So let's see how closely I can match the colors. And I'm afraid this might not record the object or the dialogues that are going to open. So I'm going to actually pause the video, and I'll come back to it after I fix that little error, because I don't want to open these menus. Yeah, I see I'm opening menus and you can't see what I'm selecting. So I'm going to pause. Okay, so we want to take this Gorn and make him look like he belongs in this picture. So I'm going to go up here. I've got him selected. And this used to be underneath the bitmaps, but they've moved it now to effects in Corel 2019. So under effects, adjust, we want to go to image adjustment lab. That's going to bring up this flyout. And to match this image, if you look at the image we're working with, you can see that the colors aren't quite as saturated, and there's kind of a more of a like reddish warm hue than you have with the Gorn. So let's take the saturation out first. I'm going to take the saturation down a bit, and then I'm going to take the temperature and warm it up. And maybe just a little more saturation out. He's going to be in the background. And when someone's going to be in the background, it shouldn't be quite as saturated anyway. So let's say OK there. And look at this. I'm gonna select this and undo it. And just matching those colors, you can see the difference in this Gorn here. One looks like he belongs here. One looks like he does not. So let's go ahead and do a better job of cutting this out now that I know it's going to work. Because I think I can get that image in here. It's going to give me exactly the effect that I want. So I'm going to think about putting some eye patches on people, but probably not. And I'm going to think about cutting this across here and putting them on another background. So let's have a look here. I'm just going to do this kind of this way. I'm going to use some of what I've already made because I followed pretty much okay with the eraser tool. And I do want this to not be a weird block of color, so I'm just going to have that pop out a little bit. We'll just delete that. Okay, so that works, and now let's take a look at what else can we do here. I think the Gorn needs his leg back. I erased a little too much of it here when I was doing my quick work to see if this was going to work for us. There we go. And I'm actually gonna draw the rest of this out here. So with the other tool, because there's just too much contour that I want to preserve here around the Gorn. So let me just pull this out so I've got room to work. I'm leaving that top hat. Alright, let's draw here. Zoom up on it. This is closer than anybody else is ever going to see this, because we're right up on it while we're doing this contour. So being exact is you're going to kill yourself for nothing. You just kind of got to go with the flow. Draw around these objects. And once again, that's holding Alt with my left thumb and then just tapping the arrow keys to move around the workspace. All these kind of shortcuts and things, they're different in Illustrator and Photoshop than they are in Corel, but there is an equivalent. So anybody that's working in Corel and feels like, oh, this is what I'm used to, I'm not gonna switch, I totally recommend you go back and forth like I do. You get hung up on one program, kind of get stuck because you're gonna get files from people that are in Illustrator format, and Corel's pretty good about that. But then if you're only working in Illustrator and you're in the print industry and you get Corel files, you can open them in a few ways, but it's not as compatible as it is the other way around. So I keep my Corel skills sharp and my Illustrator skills sharp. And we're not going to cut around this too closely because I'm going to do some stuff on that. So I'm just going to kind of grab this. There we go. And at this point in the video, I honestly will probably just jump into a fast forward unless I come across something interesting that I want to explain what I'm doing, but you've kind of seen this before. So might just be painful to have me explain about outlining these objects with the node editing tools that I'm using and why. Could always talk about Picard. The show has been really good. For better or worse, Star Trek Discovery was at least Star Trek back to TV, get us away from the cinematic universe that was just going nowhere. And, all the best stories in Star Trek have been in Star Trek Online. And ever since Discovery came out, my opinion has not changed. I think the best stories are in Star Trek Online. And I think what they should have done is pick up somewhere in that era all the things they're doing with Picard. I get what they're doing, but I feel like there's just such a rich history in Star Trek Online, especially for us players. And who's a Star Trek fan that hasn't been playing Star Trek Online? Maybe I'm wrong there, but it seems like should be all of us by now. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I've got this image that I cut and this image, and they've got a weird overlap, right? Like this is the image that I just drew, right? So there's this weird extra piece. So I'm going to go no fill, and I'm going to go over here to the smart fill flyout, and I'm just going to tap inside the Gorn, and see how it selected it without this extra piece. So now I have my nice object ready to power clip the Gorn into, and I'm going to click my bitmap, right click, and drag it into the thing I just drew. I'm going to hold control and tap or click, and that's going to give me put me inside the power clip. I think I'm going to get rid of a little more of this so that it overlaps differently. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so let's zoom up and have a look at how everything's coming together. Alright, my Gorn is not quite outlined close enough, and he's got kind of a weird outline that I've got to address. I'm not happy with this darkness on the back of his head. It's because I started trying to edit the colors and make sure it was going to look okay, and I probably should have redrawn the whole cutout from scratch instead of trying to like use part of what I just made with the eraser. So I got a couple of places where the image just isn't quite close enough for what I like. There we go. Okay, so let's see if we can crop this into something we can use. I'm going to group that whole thing, and I'm going to consider, I know I've got to put an eye patch on him, so let's do that. And I'm going to draw the eye patch on Picard because I want to make sure that I get the shape right. So I'm just going to copy this one a little bit. And I'm not going to cut it out and copy the actual like bitmap of it or the image of it or anything. I'm just going to copy this shape and then stick one on the Gorn. There we go. Alright, so let's see about moving this eye patch over here. And this would be turned a bit like this. And it would be smaller. There we go. And let's make that a color so we can see it better. I think it would cover more of this ridge. I want it to kind of look natural. Alright, and then now see, when I'm rotating an object, you can move this center. If you select an object with a click and then you click it again, you'll get the rotation handles. You can drag the center, and then when you move it, it rotates around the new center. So I'm trying to position this in a way that feels more like it would kind of be on a Gorn, which is difficult because they have a different kind of ridge to their forehead there. So we're going to stick this right here. I think it would have to turn a little more on a Gorn. And then I'm just going to grab this tool and make a curve that goes from here to here. And let's see, where's Picard's other one? And you know what, that's not quite a good curve. I think it should curve more like Picard's, where it goes this way and then switches direction. So let's try and get this to contour around the ridge on the Gorn's head. Let's give it a little more outline there. We'll go way too much. Probably more like 10 pixels. Alright. And the other one, I'm going to try to do a better job of zooming way up when I'm working on stuff. The other one's going to come off of here and go around. So it probably needs to come this way. There we go. And I think I want kind of more curve. So I feel like he would have to wear it just a little differently because of his head shape there. Let's see what that looks like. Should also be 10 pixels. And let's make the eye patch dark. And I'm going to match the colors to his jacket. And what I did here is I just grabbed the eyedropper tool over here, and that gives me the eyedropper. And then once I click something, which right here, you just hold over it, and you see how the little box is solid. That'll fill a fill. When it's a square with a hollow fill, it'll do the outline. So I'm hovering over these lines I made and doing the outline. Then when I hover over the eye patch, it'll do the fill. So I'm going to take and do a little more work on the eye patch so that it's got a little more like life to it. So I'm going to put I'm going to inset it just a little bit, and then I'm going to grab a different tone from this jacket, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a transparency so that it's kind of got some texture and it looks a little bit more dimensional. Alright, and then here I'm going to go, I've got those two lines selected. I'm going to combine them by holding Control L and then go to Object, Convert Outline to Object, and now I can apply a gradient to that, which will give me a little bit of a little more dimension. So I'm going to use the interactive fill tool. I'm going to drag from here to here, and we're going to sample. I'm going to click this, grab the eyedropper, and I'm going to sample this lighter gray color for the inside of this gradient. There we are. Alright, so let's take a look at the picture here. I put the eye patch on the Gorn. I don't know about the angle that it's at. I feel like maybe the angle is not quite right. Let's try. Picard's kind of goes more up on his nose like this. So maybe stick that here. And I'm going to distort this using the envelope tool. So we'll just try to bring the top up a little bit. And with the envelope tool, you can grab the curve and then click a node, and then holding Control, you see I can move both sides like that. And then I'm going to skew this higher. I hit Control K to break these two lines apart because I want to bring this one down. And Picard's looks like it goes up. Maybe the Gorn's doesn't look quite as natural because it goes down. I was feeling like that was how it might wrap around his head, but it feels a bit unnatural, and I'm actually looking at it. So, and I'm not going to be married to that mistake. I'm gonna change that. So I'll be node editing a little bit just to get this kind of over here in place. There we go. There's that. There is that. Alright, so now I'm going to select my nodes. I'm just going to make them all cusp nodes. And then I'm going to grab this arc and just convert it to a line, and then it'll kind of go right to where it needs to be. But then I'm going to go back to a curve so that I can kind of just give it a little bit of shape. Alright, let's take a look at that now. Gorn now has an eye patch. I don't think I'm giving anyone else an eye patch. I think that's probably good enough. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to take this whole image, group the whole thing. I'm thinking about possibly changing something with Captain Rios to give him a little bit of a shadow. We'll see. So I'm going to grab them, go to a new page. This is where we're going to start actually making things. This is our website banner. So I'm going to open the template. I'm going to get rid of last week's work and paste in this week's image. And working a little bit quickly here. I'm going to grab this whole thing. Holding shift will constrain it so it stays centered. And then I'm just going to size it until I feel like everything is composed as nicely as I can make it. And so that I'm not obstructing any of the actors that I'm trying to focus on. And I had Space Legolas in here last week, so I'm not going to put him on this week's post graphic. Not a slight to that actor. I think I make fun of him being Space Legolas, but I actually kind of like the character. So we'll see how it develops, but so far so good. Liking Picard. Alright, so I'm going to cut him out. Let's just make a dark spot and kind of fade him. He's going to be behind the Elcar's stuff anyway. And that is too stark. So I'm going to make it a bit more in line with the image we're using. So I'm going to double click this swatch. And then grab a color from the image so that it just doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. That's my cat again, knocking things down. Alright, so I'm going to use a sampled color from the image. And then I'm actually going to make another shape here because I want to get rid of some of what we got going on with the Gorn's legs. And I'm just going to make a nice like little patch. It kind of fills this area. It'll be behind the Delta shield, but I want to get rid of that purple area. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to grab this background image and ungroup everything so that I can put this where I want it, and then I'm going to drop it in so that it is. Oh, I can't drop it behind them. So I don't need to ungroup things. Alright, so I've got to get rid of some more of this, I think. I just want to get rid of this purple because it's kind of in the way. I don't like the way it stands out in the image. So I'm just going to grab that area and isolate it. And there are probably tools that'll try to grab that with some kind of matching or something. You just click right in the middle and grab it. I typically just draw around it. It keeps my skills good for drawing with these tools, and I'm used to it, so I don't always get a good result from the automatic tools, so I typically will just trust my hand more and just do it that way. Alright, so let's take this into the template now and fix all of that bad stuff. And somehow I did not copy here we go. Okay. So what else do we need? We need to frame the other side. So I'm going to copy this and just move it right over here so we get a blend where the image ends underneath the LCARS elements. Alright, what else can we do? Let's see if we can get a little more better composition, or if this is going to be it. I think that's probably it. Alright, so let's take a quick look at this. I feel like this Captain Rios here, his cutout is not quite where I want it, so I'm gonna edit that real quick, get it where I want it, because this color doesn't work for me here. So what I'm really gonna do, I'm gonna pop inside that power clip, and then let's see, let's make, so just to tone this color down, I'm just gonna put like a mask here. I'm going to sample a color from this fur, and then just kind of blend over this arm so that it darkens it and takes that like stark highlight out. And I think I got to test it and see how it looks, but I think that I can make this even better if I multiply instead of just placing it. See, now we have instead of a highlight, we have a shadow, and I'm gonna go back in there and make another quick edit. I can control how hard that shadow is. I can sample a lighter color from the jacket and paste it in there, and it's going to make a difference in what we see here. So let's start with this color, and then I'm going to change how intensely it multiplies, just to make sure that I get like the best possible color. I think that's the best I'm going to get, the best gradient. And there we go. Alright, so that works for me. So let's see, maybe something else that's bothering me is this highlight here. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. What can we do? We can get closer. That'll clean that up. So I'm gonna just come in here, grab this tool, just kind of get in till I don't get these white spots that are like sticking out like a sore thumb on Captain Rios here. Because that's the problem. There's just too much white hanging out. There we go. It's just hanging out of the graphics area, or the area I'm trying to isolate. Alright, let's take a look at it now. Alright, so next thing I don't like about this is the rays and shield logo is kind of blotting out Picard, and he needs to be totally visible. So let's not block him so much. Let's just get this where it's, there we go. I can block part of his hat. I won't block part of his face. And we'll get this, there we go. I don't like the logo to overpower the actors. Oops. A little too much. All right. That'll work. So now it's time to fix some colors. So what can we do with the colors? You can see I've already got the template set up so I can adjust the colors here. And if you don't know how to do that, you just select your objects and drag them into the color styles box. And I can do tutorials on that if it becomes necessary, if there's any interest in doing that. So picking colors that work well with this, I like to pick a color that's in the image somewhere. But I don't want to use green because we used green recently for a Romulan image, and I don't want to use these orangey warm colors either because we used them last week. So let's take a look at what kind of colors we get, just kind of sampling around the image. I really don't want it to be green. I don't know that I want it to be like a white. Let's see. That might be the way that maybe like a gray, or maybe a green that is really deep, or not deep, but like darker. Yeah, deep, you know, like this. And then this whole, yeah, this Elcar's element is the wrong color here. There we go. That might work. And then we'll take this orangey color and go more in line with what's there. We'll go more like this. And the delta shield can also be kind of that color. I don't know about that because I kind of like it up here. So let's grab this, copy it, and then I'm going to edit the transparency to make this go completely invisible. And then I'll paste a new one and make these go invisible and get rid of these altogether. And this should be 100. Okay. And then I can change the color of the delta shield down here to be more subtle. Oh, I think I made a bad edit there. Let's see, maybe grab one of these colors, drop that over there. Okay, that works. So let's see, 450. That is a lot of podcasts. Well done, Priority 1. Alright, and I don't think the white is going to work there. Let's try. There we go. And I might need to put a shadow behind this so that we don't lose something here with Captain Rios. So let's put a drop shadow on it. I just go for small glow. When I need to put this on text, I just go for small glow. And then change the color of the shadow. We want to be in an RGB palette. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to sample my color from this, so it's not really going to stay RGB or matter. So let's make our shadow a dark color from here so that it looks natural. And that works. All right. And let's have a look at, I might want to lighten this color also, because I have some transparency on this, which I can lighten. There we are. And this one should be even more, it should be more like 95 or so, 96%. Okay. And it's 96 because I hit the wrong key, and precision, it's not necessarily what I'm going for here. So, okay. Episode 450. That works. I think that works. Kind of goes with the whole, yeah, it goes with the whole thing. We've got the funny outfit on the Gorn, goes with everyone else being dressed up. Ties Star Trek Online into the post graphic, which is good. The Gorn didn't necessarily have a part in the episode, but I think it works being all dressed up like that. So Let's see what else is going on. This outline here is bothering me a little bit because he stands out a little too much. So I'm going to come in here and select him, and I'm just going to bring this line in just a bit, clean this up. I think I did this earlier in the video and then had to replace the Gorn image because I made a mistake with the legs. So if you're watching this again, it's because I made a bad edit. We'll figure that out. Fix it in post, as they say. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's see. Much better. Okay. So, whoops. So I'm going to grab this. And this. And this. Actually, let's grab all of it. And then we'll go to the YouTube image. And it looks like because we did our colors properly, surprise, surprise, the frame is already matched up for us. I wasn't sure that was going to happen because I wasn't sure that I linked them properly the last time I worked with this template, so happy surprise there. I don't really, whoops. I had control held down and clicked outside of my image, so we lost that. Oops, I'm going to keep one of these. Alright, let's position this for the YouTube graphic. There we go. And I'm just going to copy this text over the other one instead of recreating that effect. And then I'll resize it a little bit so that it fits the template. And keeps the drop shadow. Okay, and I think I have a problem with this gradient again because it's different from the last one, so we'll turn this up, make it more transparent. All right, good stuff. Next graphic is for the square graphic. This is like social media posts, things like that. Whoops. I'm going to need more than that. I've got to get some more stuff on my clipboard. Copy this. And if I'm not mistaken, I think all I have to do is fit this into there. And I think everything else will be okay on this one. I don't want to lose the Gorn, so we'll make this one a little tighter there. There we go. Alright, and we don't need the extra LCARS elements because they're hanging into the image area. And we don't need double delta shields. I'm going to go to wireframe real quick just to make sure there's not a delta shield I'm not seeing, because just because I wasn't seeing it here doesn't mean it wouldn't show up in the export in some subtle way if it was like really faint but not quite perceptible to my eyes. Alright, ungroup this. Let me grab the episode number, just place that and size it. There's my cat sneezing. Alright. And then next is the community question image, and that one It's just a little different. We won't have room for everything that we want to put in there. I've done that to myself a couple of times now. We don't have room for everything that we want to put into this one, unfortunately. Okay. Let me just get rid of some extra elements that are in here in the template. Okay. So this can go. Alright, so what can we do to make this better fit? Whoops. We don't want to move that around too much. Let's see. We're going to lose the Gorn on this one, but that's okay. Maybe. If the question mark was smaller. And here, could we keep the Gorn? All right. Okay, and that's that. So we've got our community question, we've got the social media post, we've got YouTube, and the website. So I'm going to save this and just export my files. That is going to be it for this stuff. I hope that was interesting or fun for someone. I enjoyed putting it together, and can't wait to get this over to Elijah for Priority One Podcast 450th post, so they can get that up for you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see me do in CorelDraw or anything like that.